Okay, good evening, viewers, and welcome to another edition of Mental Health Matters. Today we are going to talk a little bit about stress in terms of the impact of stress on physical health as well as how one can cope with stress. So, I think the weeks before we've been talking about the fact that stress is a normal body reaction that requires maybe an adjustment or a response. And we talked about the positive types of stresses. Sometimes you are motivated to, maybe you're doing a presentation. Sometimes that type of stress is a positive stressor. And we have other forms of stresses that can even be a broken heart, among others. So we talked about stress, and then we talked about the negative types of stress and the impact it has on the individual. So today I have my clinical psychologist colleague here with me who we are going to discuss, Emmanuel Dziwornu, Mr. Emmanuel Dziwornu, who we are going to discuss, the physical impact, the impact of stress on one's physical health and ways of coping with stress. So, Emmanuel, good evening.
Good evening, Nandy.
Hope you had a very wonderful day today.
Yes, coming to talk about stress, and I've had a stressful day myself.
I know, right? Every day is a stressful day. So, I wanted us to continue from where we left off the other time. We talked about stress, and basically, if you could just give us a recap, and then what are some of the effects that stress has on our physical health, basically.
All right. In the last episode, we talked about what stress actually is. Looking at it as an appreciation or an appraisal to a stimulus. And that stimulus is the stressor, and that appreciation is the stress that happens to us. In the sense that you inadequate in terms of resources, maybe the stressor, you are stressed out.
Is that a negative type of stress?
Generally, stress is seen from the negative perspective, but we also have the positive aspect for it, like you said last time, where the positive one gives you some form of motivation to deal with issues, which is called eustress. But once it impacts on you negatively, then it becomes de-stress. Yes. So the positive ones give you positive outcomes. But the negative one, it has detrimental effects on you. The effects could cut across every aspect of your life. And like you ask, we can have effect on your physical health. Your physical health. When we talk about physical health, we're talking about your biological makeup, your body, which will be impacted negatively because of the stress you're going through. Yes. The whole concept of health is a broad one, but today we are looking at just one side of it, because health is not just the physical aspect; it includes other aspects as well. But today we are looking at the physical aspect of health that could be impacted by stress.
So, my understanding here is the human body is designed to be able to cope with stress because the whole environment is filled with stress, basically. So, my understanding is the body is even designed in a way that it automatically responds to stress in itself. So, my understanding here too is the fact that stress becomes negative and needs to be addressed or coped with when it has an impact on a person's day-to-day functioning, basically, from what you're saying. So the question here is, the research says that we are what we think. Okay, so I mean, stress starts from the mind and has an impact on the body. So we have the mind-body interaction. So people might be going through stress, or somebody might come and say, okay, I have a serious headache, basically. And the first thoughts would be that you would have to see a physician. Okay, so you have to rule out any form of medical condition. And then the doctor says, okay, from our examination, we didn't find anything wrong with you. Then maybe they go ahead to ask you of your day-to-day activities and see whether there are any forms of stresses that may have
environment.
triggered
The headache.
a physical condition. So then you are advised to cope with stress or maybe undergo some form of stress management to be able to deal with day-to-day stress.
Yeah.
So can you give us some,
Impact.
examples or impact of stress on the physical health?
Okay.
Like the headache and all that?
Yeah. A lot of people break down today, not because they have had an accident or something biologically their body. You hear stories that this person has gone to the hospital, they have done tests, and they said they didn't find anything. And in our local communities, they will tell you that they said the sickness is not a hospital sickness because the doctor has not found anything. Perhaps it is all stress induced. Their body will respond to it. And last time we were talking about the physiology of stress, where chemicals in the body are released that automatically triggers certain responses in the body. The prolonged release or exposure to these chemicals have damaging impacts on the body and its organs. So people's hearts will respond, the heart is one of the organs, will respond to these stresses in the way it's supposed to be because that is the mechanism that has been triggered. And once the heart is pumping so fast, pumping of blood is affected and all those things, this automatically could lead to what we call high blood pressure. Right? When this happens, we know that high blood pressure is very much associated with so many problems in the body. It could lead to stroke, where the person is broken down and permanently. It could lead to instant death as a result of cardiac arrest, which we call heart attack, right? So the person will just fall and is gone. These are physical problems as a result of stress. But it is not a one-time stressor that causes this. People will be exposed to it for a long period of time and they have not been dealing with it.
Because they don't know that.
They don't know. A lot of people don't know.
May lead to the end result of maybe any physical health.
Exactly. So that's one aspect. So stroke, hypertension, all those things could come from stress. An interesting condition that we usually don't pair with stress is diabetes.
Okay.
Because we feel that this one is about sugar, it's about what you eat. So it's not really about it's not really stress. But it is stress. It's been found again and again that people who are usually stressed out, their eating patterns are bad.
Okay.
So they will not take good care of what they eat. They may not eat well, they may overeat, they may eat anything at all that comes their way. They will not have the right digestion attitudes that will promote digestion. So calories are built up all the time, and that leads to diabetes. Diabetes, hypertension, very, very close. If stress can cause hypertension, then it can equally lead to diabetes.
So then can you also say that almost all the lifestyle diseases may all have
very much implicated, yes, in stress. Stress is very much implicated in most of the lifestyle diseases. So these ones we're talking about, non-communicable.
Obesity is a lifestyle disease.
Very good. You can have even ulcer, right? If you don't eat well, especially on time, that can lead to that. And like last time we mentioned asthma, which yes, we can have pure biological basis for it, but it's also stress induced.
So whatever physical health condition is triggered by, there is a trigger. Something triggers it. There should be a negative trigger that may lead to triggering
that particular condition. Yes.
So for example, I know of a very common thing that people may not really know about that we can want us to talk about, what we call the irritable bowel syndrome. So most students don't realize that even going to take an exam. So for example, when I was in school, I know that every time I'm going to write an exam, when I have diarrhea, it's actually a sign of stress or anxiety. basically. Students who are even writing exams
Will
may
visit the
respond,
washroom
yes,
frequently.
Will visit the washroom frequently.
Yes.
That is another form of
It's one of the
stress.
physical effects it has on our body. You see, and invigilators have this perception. They feel that a student who probably asks for permission to visit the washroom twice within the exam is going to copy. So they put strict observation on the person. But it could be just a response to stress. So the person goes there, tries, they can actually go through the process of, yes, and then they come back. In no time, it happens again. That is very common. It's not just exam, presentation. But when you are well prepared, we'll be talking about the coping very soon. When you are well prepared, finding ways to deal with the stress, some of these things don't happen. Even if they do, it is less. But if you know that the preparation is limited, then the system triggers all these responses.
Okay. So then the system goes through the same fight, flight, freeze motion.
Yes, it could go through all those stages as well. Yeah.
Okay. So, if viewers have questions to ask, in relation to your physical health as well as stress, feel free to, drop a message down to Friends of Mental Health, and we will be on standby to respond to most of your questions. So, the very good aspect of it is coping
with stress. Yeah.
Okay. So, how then does one,
cope with stress?
How then should one be able to cope with stress to, reduce all these physical conditions? Because besides the fact that people who have hypertension, ulcers are put on medications, doctors also encourage them to engage in certain activities that will help them.
Sorry, we forgot to mention that even sleep is disturbed by stress.
Yes,
and sleep is not just an emotional thing; it's a purely physical thing.
Yeah.
Sleep is highly disrupted by stress. If you go to work and things are not moving, are not turning well, are not dealing with them well, you come home, your eyes are opened. The next day you wake up, you are even afraid. How is it going to be? And it goes round and round like that every time. You don't sleep well. You wake up tired. You go into the day a little while, your head starts to ache. Then it gives you body aches.
Yeah.
So it rolls from one to the other, on and on like that. Okay, so now we can go to the coping.
So then how then do we cope with stress, basically?
Coping with stress.
What are some of the steps one has to take to cope with stress? We all cope with stress differently because we all have our different
ways of dealing,
mechanisms or different ways of coping with stress.
Stress, yeah.
How then what are some of the ways of coping with
stress? The very first thing we need to talk about if we are looking at coping with stress is you identifying your stresses. What makes me stress? What is it that I struggle to deal with?
So what makes you stress in a way that it also have a negative impact on you? Yes, because we can also, if we say what makes me stress, I'm looking at positive aspects of stress, or
looking at vision.
If you say what makes me, when you say we should identify your stresses can be positive stresses or negative stresses.
Exactly. So here we're looking at the negative ones. Right? If it is positive, who cares? After all, it is making you attain results.
Okay.
But the negative ones, that is what is most important to talk about coping.
Okay.
So yes, the first thing is identify what your stresses are. If you don't know what the problem is, you can't talk about solution. So everyone will have to try and figure out what makes the person uncomfortable when it comes to issues of stress. Therefore, you finding out in your own way what your stresses are is the first step towards dealing with them. So for instance, if you find out that my job or the job laid down on my table every day are a great deal of stressor for me, then you start putting up mechanisms of dealing with it. One of the things you can do in such an example is that, is there any other person I can delegate these works to? Sometimes people feel that if they are not there, works will not be done. But I tell you, when you break down, the work still goes.
When you die,
The office still runs. When you break down, they will sack you. I mean, they will lay you off and hire somebody. Some people feel if they don't do it their own way, do it the way they have to do. In fact, this mentality goes on and on to the extent that we fail to even train people to take over from us.
And besides, your well-being is also important in the organization, so as to be able to improve productivity. So all the time. So you also have to make a conscious effort, and the organization has to make it a conscious effort to ensure that the well-being of staff are well taken care of.
Exactly.
Because if I am stressed out and it's impacting me negatively and I can't function, it also affects productivity and
the entire
return
organization.
on investment and then on the entire organization.
So that is it. In terms of job or workloads, we can always delegate so that the work will be shared and be done properly or easily. That is one. If it is a relationship matter, for instance, you feel the person doesn't appreciate you, that says things negatively towards you and looks down on you, or demeans you and all those things. Again, if you talk about stress being your appreciation of issues, if your partner tells you that you are not correct, that statement, you can look at it in two ways, obviously. You can think he has insulted you. You can think he's making fun, right? So this brings in the aspect of really looking at things in a positive manner. Instead of reading negative meanings that will heighten your stress level, we can always try to turn things around. Look at the positive aspects of it. Once we do that, it lowers the pressure on our system, at least for some time, where you have the opportunity to deal with the issue later on. A lot of people are struggling to live with partners, live with colleagues in the office, all because everything, they take it in a negative sense. Your friend comes to work late, your colleague comes to work late. You think that he has intentionally come late so that you work more before he comes. It may not be so. It could just be that he was caught in traffic. Or something. You know? One of the interesting things I ever read about stress in the textbook says that some people, even if their dog's back, if their colleague's dog's back, they think the colleague has intentionally asked the dog to bark to disturb him or her. That is looking at things in a negative way. But you can look at things differently all the time. So that attitude towards life is one of the nice ways of dealing with or coping with stress.
So what about the other types of coping with stress? For example, rest.
Yes.
Rest is very important.
Rest is another one.
Actually,
it deals with the physical impacts of stress. You know, Accra today, typically, is one area that you wake up in the morning and running up and down, and you don't catch any sleep through the day, the night, you sleep late, you wake up very early, and your body has become like a machine running 24/7.
Is it only Accra, or is the fact that we work to live and to earn to be able to take care of ourselves? We get up every morning.
But I tell you, there are parts of Ghana that life in general, in terms of this stressful way, is better. I tell you,
Example.
I work in Tamale.
Yes.
I wake up in the morning, I can wake up at 7 and still get to the office by 8.
Traffic?
What is traffic? There's nothing called traffic in Tamale. But in Accra,
even the traffic is a stressor.
Exactly. Moving from Medina to Central Business area, it takes you not less than 2 hours. So you want to leave at 6. My friend will tell you when you leave at 6:01, you are sure of spending 3 hours. But you leave 6:00, you are getting there in 2 hours.
From where to where?
From Medina to Accra.
Wow.
You know, so it makes you wake up very early. You can't rest. Children are sleeping in the car while they are being taken to school. They sleep in the car while they are driven to the house. So no, people are not resting. But one of the ways of dealing with stress is to rest. Rest and rest and rest. Now, if the arrangements or the situation is such that you can't catch that much rest, every organization has put up well, some parts of the year is given to you as a worker that take some leave.
And take a break.
Take a break. But you know what we do? People will take the leave 20 days, 15 days, 5 days, 35 days, and then you see them in another organization working through all that time. They don't have any rest. They come back to the world so tired. So at the end of the day, people are not resting. But what are we all looking for? Money, right? Money, money, money. Yes, we look at it, we look for it, look for it. At the end of the day, you have the money in your hand and you are dead.
Yes, we just say we use our health to make wealth, and in the end, we end up using the wealth to take care of our health.
Yeah, that's even if your wealth can buy your health.
And that's the whole point.
You know, so
you would accumulate a lot of diseases and a lot of problems that even the wealth you created cannot even take care of yourself. So there are other aspects of coping with stress.
Sure, there are many other things
you can talk about. Music, listening to music, meditation,
hobbies, meditation. You see, one thing that we find difficult in appreciating is hobbies. Somebody says, my hobby, reading. Somebody talks about himself or herself and then mentions hobby, then you're like, why should you bring hobby into describing yourself? But it's a very good thing to do. Everybody needs to identify their hobbies. If it is reading, if it is cooking, if it is swimming, if it is playing, if it is reading, you've got to identify that and allocate time to them. There was a point in time where I decided that at least one day in the week I should use for rest. Within that day, some hobbies should be taken into consideration. Well, I doubt if I'm doing it though. But these are some of the things we can do for ourselves. Put some time aside for yourself and put all these things in place.
Going on vacation.
On vacation.
Beach. This is in the beach.
Very good one. Some people just pick up from the house, move to the beach, sit down there, observe nature, and come back. You may think they have so much time, but no, they know what they get from that.
So sometimes, for example, I would just say that you ask yourself, if you identify your negative stresses, let's say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed are you? Where 1 is
very low,
and
10 is
very
extremely
high. Grade yourself, and then when you take in any of the coping mechanisms, like going on a vacation or taking a nap, after you do you engage in these coping mechanisms.
You rate yourself
again on a scale of 1 to 10.
Where do you have to?
Are you better?
Of course, usually you should be able to see.
It's something that we should all try
and see how it helps us.
How it helps us and all that. So these are some of the stress management tips one can.
Exactly. And you talk about meditation. Meditation is a very great mental process or cognitive process we can use for coping. People should not go meditating or brooding rather over negative things. Then it's no meditation.
So sometimes they say when you are relaxed or you're lying down, let's say you're taking a rest, I can decide to imagine myself in the beach.
Yeah.
Feeling the breeze of the sea, feeling the coconut leaves moving. Birds flying.
Yourself running into the water and coming out.
Relaxed. I mean, it's an imagination.
Yes.
You have maybe one positive word in your mind that keeps ringing. Is it love or peace? And sometimes it actually, you by the time you realize you're asleep.
Exactly. And I say it in this way that it's a form of fantasy.
Yes.
And fantasies are good.
To cope with stress?
Yes. They don't have any side effect. For instance, if I fantasize that and I'm in a flight, I'm going to this country and I'm going to do this and I'll come back, what is the side effect for that?
When you're positive thinking,
that is it. Meditate. Have all the things you never had in your life in your meditation. I mean, do it. Relax the system. Then one way is also breathing exercises. You could just lie down or sit and then have deep breath in and out. As you do that, you meditate as well. Right? Like we can all try that. Something like that. I mean, so many times,
like you release some tension.
When you go to bed, let's lie up flat with our hands by our sides, then breathe in and out gradually. It calms the body. Your mind is also on positive things. It makes your whole mind also very settled. When you wake up in the morning, do it before you move on. Get the best music for yourself.
I know.
You know, when you start a day like that, I bet you always be singing and flying.
We will have another full session on stress again, where I think this time we'll have an audience and we can do more.
Well, yes, that's possible.
So viewers, today we've talked about stress and the physical impact stress has on the body and our health as well. And we also talk about the various ways to cope with stress. If you have any questions, if you have any, you want to see any expert or concerns, you should reach out to Friends of Mental Health, and they would provide all the concerns and the help you need to support you in relation to stress management. So if you also want to sponsor this program, that is Mental Health Matters, please call the numbers 0500 01 0000. I want to repeat it again. Please call the number 0500 01 0000 if you want to sponsor the program. And you can also call, if you tried this number and doesn't work, you can also call 0500 13 13 18 0500 13 13 18 for more details. So thank you very much for today's program and have a good night.
Friends of Mental Health presents Friends Indeed. Do you care about the mentally challenged? Are you looking for ways to support the mentally challenged? Friends Indeed gives you the opportunity to donate towards a worthy cause. Donate a mattress to the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, Ankafu Psychiatric Hospital, and the Pantine Psychiatric Hospital. Send your donation to the short code *110# on Vodafone. The process is simple. 1. Select 5. Pay bill. 2. Select 2. Other. 3. Enter short code 710710. 4. Enter amount. And 5. Enter PIN. Or use MTN short code *170#. 1. Select 2. Pay bill. 2. Select 6. General payment. 3. Enter short code FMH. 4. Enter amount. 5. Enter suitable reference. And 6. Enter PIN. You can also send your donation to any Zenith Bank branch in the country. For more information, contact these numbers. Friends of Mental Health, healthy mind, wealthy generation.